Hi, this is a review for the NCE, and we are in Domain 1, Professional Practice Ethics Domain. And today, in 5-minute videos, we are going to be covering subcategory O. This subcategory states that counselors are to assess the competencies to provide informed consent. This one is a tricky one, and I have seen ethical complaints at the state level in Austin regarding if client was able to understand what informed consent and all the different technicalities were. So for a counselor studying for the NCE, one thing to keep in mind is what in the field of psychology they call the competencies, or is the client competent enough to understand what informed consent looks like and everything that is involved in the counseling therapeutic process. And what I mean by this is, when you are going over the informed consent, if it's a person that is dealing with drug use or abuse, are they in a state of sobriety? Are they able to read? Are they able to understand all the different technicalities that you are providing? And this is important because if the counselor is explaining the informed consent process and the client does not understand, then that really creates an ethical dilemma, because the counselor is really talking above the client's understanding. Another big thing, especially here in Texas, is the language. And what I mean by language are, even if, for example, a client is native Spanish speaker, that doesn't necessarily mean they can read in Spanish. So just because you are providing a translated form, or you are providing something that Google translated, which has issues in and of itself, doesn't necessarily mean they understand all the technicalities that go into informed consent. So, even if the client does sign the form, there still can be friction in that, because there was a lack of comprehension or understanding, then it can really get to where the client felt like things weren't explained appropriately. And as a counselor, you really have to keep that in mind, because it can get very technical with the legalities and explaining them about records request and explaining them about confidentiality and breaking confidentiality. So part of the intake process and the initial counseling session is really making sure that the client understands a lot of the legalities, and a lot of times clients are so worried about their own personal issues or mental health issues that they just kind of want to skim over that. But as a practicing counselor, I can tell you that this is one of the things that is very important, because if there is disputes down the road, this is something that has to be clear for the client in order to feel safe, and not just the client but also the counselor saying that they did their due diligence.